Thank you, Chair White and members of the committee, and Chair White, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I'd like to really thank all of you for your support over the years. And last year you absolutely saved us during COVID. So we're really, really appreciative, and it's great to work with you. I think, like all of us, all of the higher ed systems in Louisiana, we have been facing significant financial challenges in the light of COVID. And we'd certainly be happy to answer any questions about those. But I thought I would like to take a minute at the outset and update you on what LSU is doing on some of the Title IX matters. I know your constituents are interested, and we've made a lot of progress. So, Chair White, if...
Sure.
First, we have and we continue to apologize to the survivors. We owe them an apology. We're grateful they came forward. But what we owe to them and we owe to everybody in the state of Louisiana is to make the significant changes that we need to make to be sure that we never repeat the mistakes that we've made in the past. So it's been just over a month since Hush Blackwell released its report. That was on March 3rd. And I promised when that happened that we would implement all 18 of the recommendations in the report. Since then, we've created an action plan. I think in the folder we gave you, we have a truncated version of that action plan. We've also given you a timeline of the things that we're doing. And actually, we've done quite a lot in the last 5 weeks. We're clarifying reporting responsibilities so everyone on our campus knows that they are a mandatory reporter unless they're a confidential advisor. We're streamlining and centralizing reporting and support services. We've created a brand new Office of Civil Rights in Title IX, which has moved out from under the Office of General Counsel. It's in Himes Hall, which, if you know our campus, is in a centralized, accessible area where there's still privacy for folks who may go to the Title IX office. On an interim basis, it's being led by Jane Cassidy, who's a senior vice provost. She's now interim vice president of the Office of Civil Rights in Title IX. She is among the most respected faculty members, the most accomplished administrators. She's incredibly compassionate, and she gets things done, and she's gotten a lot done already. We've established a new website that provides help and support to anyone impacted by domestic or sexual violence, pulling everything together in one place. We're addressing chronic understaffing of our Title IX and affiliated functions. We've posted 3 jobs already. Title IX case manager, an investigator, and an assistant to the vice president. I heard from Senior Vice Provost Cassidy, Interim Vice President Cassidy yesterday that we have over 70 applications for those positions, and we will be interviewing soon. We're implementing new employee Title IX training and educational courses through our partnership with Sexual Trauma and Awareness Response, STAR, that will be better tailored to respond to student needs. And will make our staff experts in their fields. Athletics has implemented a training regimen with STAR, with Live Respect, and with A Call to Men, all of whom bring nationally renowned expertise to LSU. We've made sure that our police department will promptly notify the Title IX coordinator of any incidents of sexual misconduct, and we're also implementing alternative resolution options and restorative justice for Title IX cases. Soon, we'll select a search firm to help us identify a permanent vice president for civil rights in Title IX. We'll be developing and implementing a timeline for resolution of Title IX and sexual assault cases, and we will be putting together a task force on developing standardized sanction guidelines. And we will put up regular progress reports. Now, obviously, this is an important issue for us. We're not proud of our history on this, and we are going to be better in the future. But there are many things happening at LSU right now that we are very, very proud of. Among them, we are moving forward with great momentum in terms of enrolling, retaining, and graduating talented and diverse students who are putting their LSU degrees to work in our state's most important economic sectors. In every district that you represent across Louisiana, more of your constituents are choosing to study at LSU than ever before. Starting annual salaries for LSU graduates are $12,000 higher on average than students with degrees from other universities. And just as importantly, our students are taking on less student debt than the vast majority of their peers at other universities across the country. We are setting record graduation rates, 70%. It was actually 69.5%, but IPEDS lets us round up, so 70%. Record retention rates from the first to the second year of 86% in a pandemic, and record retention rates from the first to the third year, 75%. And that's in the Baton Rouge campus. Nancy Sorensen from Eunice can tell you great success stories of what's going on at Eunice. They were just in a Christian Science Monitor article about two-year colleges that were bucking the national trend on reductions in enrollment and how they're succeeding. Paul Carell is here, and he can tell you about the great things that are going on at LSUA. Our Honors College has seen record numbers of students with record predictors of success. And we've achieved all these things despite the enormous challenges of the pandemic, and a big reason why we've done it is our people. Our faculty and our staff have been phenomenal. Like all faculty in all the higher ed systems, they went from teaching in a classroom to teaching online, not quite overnight, but over a 2-week period. It was phenomenal. They came back in the fall, both teaching online and teaching in person. And they're a big part of the reason why we succeed, and they're supported by incredible staff. So we're really, really excited about the proposal in the executive budget about salary increases. We're about 10% behind our SEC peers, and you've seen the data on where we are with our SREB peers. We'd also like very much to take care of our staff. They've not had a state-funded pay raise, unclassified staff, since 2008 and 2009. We're, of course, grateful that the executive budget includes restoration of the state general fund from the CARES Act fund swap, as well as the allocation for increased mandated cost funding. The increase to the formula funding is fabulous, and we are really appreciative for the increases for Pennington, LSU Ag, LSU Health Science Centers in Shreveport and New Orleans. Unfunded priorities for us include 3.3 in mandated cost increases for LSU First. Many legislators are on the LSU First plan. My friend Donna Torres is here, and she can explain why LSU First is slightly more expensive and why we need funding to support that. So I'm going to stop there to answer any questions. I want to thank you again for having us here today, and it's good to be with you.
Thank you, Dr. Gallagher. I guess just first, and you spoke to it, and I know that the university is under tremendous pressure right now. And I think that sometimes our public sector governments lag in procedures and processes that the private sector cannot do. And I think that's part of it. That some of these things that just kind of get swept under because you're not held to the same expectation and liability. I mean, I worked for ExxonMobil. I took sexual harassment classes for a week 25 years ago. That's why my staff here, I always tell them, if I ever say anything offensive, please tell me and stop me, and let's get it straight. And sometimes you can cut things off by just stepping up early and saying, this is it. And if I understand if I say something or I do something, I've never had them tell me that because I'm very conscious of it because I was trained to do that. And the expectation was that I'd be fired should I become entangled in a sexual harassment and I was done something that was flagrant or against the law. So I think, I'm not picking on you, I think that goes across the board to most public sector governments, and you are part of a government. I think that now that you are our lead university, that true leaders, that's when they stand out. You're under pressure. You have to make it right. So I think you're going to have an opportunity to show LSU's leadership in the weeks and months to come. I think you're going to be under pressure from a committee and from members of this legislature to do the right thing. And my expectations is that you will do that. And I have full confidence at some point in the future that we're going to get this behind us. We always do. But my expectation is that you get it right and we correct it now before we go forward. And I would appreciate that. And Senator Barrow has a question, unless you have comment.
No, I would just say I would agree. We want to set very, very high standards in that regard. We're going to have to sort through the past, and we're sorting through the past. But we're looking at the future. We're looking at a future that's a safer and better LSU. And I know I'm speaking for LSU, but I've talked to the commissioner about this, and all of us in higher ed feel the same way, that we want a safer tomorrow than yesterday. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to tell you thank you for those comments, because you're absolutely correct. We have to make this right.
Right.
And Mr. Galligan, we are looking forward to this being made right. And being made right does not mean continuing what we've always done, expecting different results. And so, with that said, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. And I think it is beginning to get to that point. And I don't know all of what's going to come out. But certainly with the press conference that was held today, I'm expecting a lot more information is going to be revealed. And as that information comes forward, we cannot just kind of operate it like we have operated. I mean, decisions will have to be made, and some of those are going to have to be made by you or by the Board of Supervisors. And that's the only way we can move forward. But I have some questions as it relates to the Title IX funding. I asked the superintendent about this. So I'm going to ask you now, because there are some convictions that LSU have had on the Title IX, one being the hazing incident. Do you know how this can impede your federal funding at this point? Yeah,
I think that the commissioner answered that question perfectly. Is we are under several investigations, the Department of Education, for Clery Act compliance, and then we heard last week the Office of Civil Rights, which we expected would be looking into our handling of cases. So certainly there is the risk that there may be an impact to our federal funding. Our commitment is going to be to comply fully with those investigations, and we will do so, and then to also show them the changes that we're making, because I agree with you, we can't keep doing things the same way we've been doing it and expect the same results.
As I'm looking through our action plan, one of the things that kind of really stood out during committee hearing was there was not a signed MOU with the university and with the police department. Has that been addressed? That
has been addressed. One of the problems in that, and I was not clear on this in the hearing when we talked before, is one of the provisions of the law says there's an out provision in the last paragraph. I don't have the number in front of me. I think it was E6 of the law that basically says, well, if they won't sign it, they won't sign it. So we're addressing that to get that signed. Far be it from me to suggest legislation, but it would be a great thing if that out weren't in the legislation. In other words, if local law enforcement said, hey, you got to sign these MOUs.
So y'all having a problem with that?
We had a problem getting it signed.
Initially, but you're still having a problem?
I can't answer that. I'd have to ask Winston DeQueer. He was the one who was going to take care of that.
Okay. Also, Superintendent Reed talked about a plan that each one of you guys, there were 13 questions that you have to all answer, and you have until I think it's Friday, which is the 9th. Have you guys filled out or completed that?
We're working on it now, and we're going to get it to the commissioner by the 9th.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have for right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. As you can see, it's not comfortable for any of us, and you especially, I know. But like I said, I'm hoping that we can get this right. We can get this behind us. And when LSU or anybody else, higher ed, comes up, that then we can talk about the budget, and we can talk about the things that we should talk about in this committee. And that's why I went ahead and let Senator Barrow, I know it's something very important to her, and I wanted to go ahead and let her address it in a short period here, but there'll be other hearings that It's not in this committee, and we're mostly dealing with the money, but I just thought I need to say that and air it and get it through, okay?
Well, Chair, I would agree, it isn't comfortable, but we are absolutely committed to doing what we have to do at LSU to make this right. We want to be a leader in Title IX compliance and an exemplar. We're going to get ourselves out of the situation that we have found ourselves in, and we're going to go forward, and we're going to do it right. So as long as I'm in this chair, we're going to be working to get this right.
Okay, Senator Barrett, okay.
Thank you for your indulgence. One last thing as it relates to the Title IX office that you guys have set up. You mentioned that in committee hearing, but we didn't have like the details in terms of like the funding for that. And I know that my colleague had asked that earlier in terms of it being in the budget, and we understand that it isn't. Where is the money going to come to actually redesign the office? Because you're moving it from where it was currently located to a new location. Am I correct?
We do. We moved it
Okay.
from the president's office, the University Administration Building, to Himes Hall because we thought it should be on campus. Not, our campus and the University Administration Building is off, and
Right.
I get lost going there. It's off, and so it's on campus where students, faculty, and staff can find it and can access it. It is not in the budget, and there are no direct lines to fund any Title IX staff in the budget. Donna Torres, as interim executive vice president in finance and administration, has found some funds, and she's created a budget for the office. So Jane Cassidy currently has a budget for that office.
What is the budget amount? Do you know?
If you would, I know that you're listed as a interim executive vice president. If you want to come to the table, you're welcome to come, and you can sit right there by Dr. Galligan.
Thank you. The budget that we have.
Just identify yourself for the
I'm
record.
sorry. I'm Donna Torres, Interim Executive Vice President, CFO for LSU System.
Go ahead. We're going to have you fill out a card. We have a white card for information only, and we'll have you fill that out before you leave.
Okay, I filled one out.
Okay. Oh, she has one. I'm sorry. I thought I saw one. Okay, go ahead.
For fiscal year '22, we have a budget of $1 million. We're moving part of that funding from General Counsel's office, where 2 of the positions currently reside. The additional funding we are cobbling together from funding within the university. For fiscal year '23, we anticipate a budget of about $2.2 million. Once the office is fully built out, fully staffed, as Dr. Galligan indicated, we are going to have initially the Vice President for Civil Rights, 2 investigators, a case manager, and an assistant to the Vice President. We'll have a Clery coordinator, and there's 1 additional position.
ADA coordinator.
ADA coordinator, thank you. American with Disabilities Act coordinator.
Okay.
And once the true vice president is hired, they will have the ability to fully build out the office and staff it.
And so this funding that you guys have or that you're cobbling together is within your budget already?
Correct. We've got funding from interest revenues that we have on investments. We've got funding from our grants and contracts.
Okay.
So we will use some of.
So you feel confident that you guys will be able to stand the office up and keep it funded, fully funded properly?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I see no more questions. Any more, Ms. Torres, any other information you'd like to offer while you're up there? I know you're interim president, vice president.
I'd just like to thank you guys for hearing us out And please know, as Dr. Galligan stated, and as my colleague Stacy Haney, our provost in the back, we are fully committed to getting this right, to being open and honest about everything that occurs, and we're going to get it right.
Okay, and I believe that. So everybody makes a mistake. Sometimes the accusations are true, sometimes they're not. And I've never been comfortable sitting there when an employee comes to me and says, I want to talk to you about something. And we talk through it. And is it something we need to investigate? Or is it something that maybe was an accident? Maybe something that we can't just overlook? We have to look at it, okay? And I'm just saying, I think not only LSU, but every other university in this state has become sensitized to it.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm hoping very soon we can go forward, and every time one of the universities come in here, we don't have to go through this. And we're going to talk about money and what they need and what their needs are and what we can do as this committee in finance, okay, to fund them. Okay? Thank you both very much, unless you have any other comments.
No, thank you very much, and we, of course, we want to talk about money, but as Donna said, we also want to be totally transparent and upfront, and we're going to
Well,
get
we
this
talked
done.
about money, but there was an uncomfortable situation that, the members wanted to talk about it, and I felt like at the appropriate time we would do it, okay?
We appreciate it very much.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.